All right, I'm here at the end of the session. This is Miles right here in the foreground, and this is Miles' roadmap to success. Now, we have, basically, we live in an apartment here, I would say we, and we see people coming by. Now, part of Miles' issue is he thinks he's a guard dog, and he is the most terrifying 12-pound Chihuahua on the planet. But he's reactive. And so one of the things I went over with the Guardian, and I usually would do this as a video, but I'm going to fold this in the roadmap to discuss, is how to teach your dog to actually like people passing by. So if you pan the camera here so you can see, if people come by, they're going to see, you can see my hand, you can see the reflection, or the shadow. So as people come by, he's going to see that, and that's what causes him to react because he thinks he's a guard dog. So what we would do is use a little counter conditioning. So basically what I would start off by doing, I would do it way over there as far away from the window as you can get. Now I have a treat here. This is a Tricky Trainer chicken liver treat, the ones I'm going to leave with you. It's like a pellet. I'm going to smash it, if I can get my fingers to it. And so now it's flat like a pancake. Now I'm going to have Miles get up, and I can move Miles ahead whichever direction I want. So what we're going to do is we're going to be way over there. We're going to put Miles in a sit, and we're going to have him on a leash so he can't rush all the way up here. And we're going to have one of our friends outside the door. And use your earbuds or just have the windows open so you can tell the person what to do. So what we're going to do is Miles is going to be over there. We're going to tell him to sit. And then we're going to give him this treat and we're going to smash it. And when you first do this, you have to let your dog kind of get used to chewing on these things. Nibbling a little bit at a time. That's why we smash it so he doesn't get it all in one bite. So what we're going to do is, you're going to say now, and your person's like, let's say the person's walking from this direction there. So we're having Miles, if this is Miles' head, we're letting him chew on it, and he's looking and he's following as the person's silhouette is going. If you have enough distance, and exercising the dog before this can also set him up for success. If you have enough distance, he should be able to be more interested in the treat than the person passing by. Now, I'm hoping that's the case because you can't, unfortunately, this leg of the mansion doesn't go very far, but you need to increase as much distance as you can so that the dog doesn't feel a threat. I think that should be enough distance. Exercising before, like I said, will help. So what we're going to do is we're going to have him track the people, and so he's looking at them as they pass, but instead of barking at them, he's getting a treat. So we do this, and I would have your friend go back, and then once they get over here, stop, get a new treat out, smash it, and then they do it this way. So that one treat per pass. And have like 5 or 10 passes, and then go outside, go for a walk together, come back, and you can do it 2 or 3 times, but you just don't want to do it all at once. So the first step is just getting used to tracking and looking at people, and we're delivering the reinforcer first. The next stage is after we've done this for a while, and he's pretty much chill, and even if he finishes the treat early, he's still not barking at them. Well, and then the blind's going to be open at this point. Well, actually, if he is barking, you can close the blinds, and that makes it a little bit less intense. But the goal is eventually to have the blinds open. So now once you tell your friend to come, and you have the treat here, and he can smell that you have a treat. He sees the person, and you give him 1 second, and the person takes 1 step, and then you give him the treat. Now, the whole point of this, he cannot react. If he's barking and reacting, he's not going to learn anything. He's hysterical. So the idea is we want to rep it enough until he starts to have a positive association. He's not barking. Then we let the person come and take 1 step, and they're just walking the whole time. They're not stopping. But after they take the first step, you pop the treat in his mouth. So he sees them for 1 second. At first, we're doing it where he's getting the treat delivered first while he's watching them. Second stage is he sees them for 1 second, then I pop the treat in his mouth. He's hurrying up, trying to finish chewing it to yell at them. Probably won't if we do it right. He's just chewing it as they pass along. The next time when they're coming back this way, you try to go to 2 steps. Now, if you go to 2 steps and he reacts, then go back to 1 and give him the treat at 1 step. The idea is eventually we get the person to walk all the way across. You're sitting here with the treat, so Miles sees them but knows the treat's coming. And because at first we do 1 step, then 2 steps, and 3 steps, and you might have to practice 5 different practice sessions at 5 steps before he gets to the point where he's relaxed. And the idea is now we watch a person cross the whole way, and then I get a treat afterwards. So the person passing essentially becomes a hand signal or a command word for I'm about to get a treat. Now, eventually then you would want to move him 1 step closer and repeat the process, another step closer until eventually he can be right here standing on the thing, watching as people walk by and getting a treat each time and not feeling like it's a threat. Matter of fact, he thinks it's a good thing. All right, so I'm going to get down so we can see at least the back of Miles' head for the rest of this. Here, let's turn you around. There we go. What a handsome boy. All right, so he's a little dog, and a lot of people with little dogs have these problems where the dog gets really big and mighty. And a lot of this comes from the fact, how about we get it down? There you go, down. Is because we don't have a lot of rules and structure. We confuse the dog into thinking that we actually need them to be in charge. For dogs, they need to see us acting like leader through our physical actions. If we're sitting at a computer all day long, they don't see that as work that looks like we're just being lazy. We have to get up and follow and move things around. So for dogs, since burning energy is a form of currency, one of the ways I do what I call flipping the leader-follower dynamic is by showing the guardians how they can do things so the dog sees them acting like a leader from a dog's perspective. So I usually start off by accomplishing this through rules. So one of the rules I suggested is not allowing the furniture. Now we do have a making jokes, but it is a cozy quarters here. And so he is naturally on the bed a lot. Now I recommend the guardian goes and gets a piece of remnant carpet because he doesn't like sitting on the hard, smooth surface. Having carpet, at least for a big chunk of it, make it a little bit easier for him. I showed how to, so one of the rules of not being on the furniture. Now to teach him to get off the furniture, I want to put it in context. So we have a dog bed over there. Can you see that? So to teach him to go to the dog bed, I show him I have a treat and I throw it on the dog bed. And when he goes down there, we say Mexico. That's the fun word that we're using for the dog bed. And we should see him linger there a little bit and even sit down. Mexico. So the first way we do this is I toss the treat onto the dog bed to motivate him to go there, and we say Mexico when he licks it up. And we do this for about 10 treats in a row, and I would tear these treats in half because he's a little guy. Oh, there we go. Mexico. The second stage is, or second thing we do is we leave a treat there when he's not paying attention. And then he comes over, there's a treat here. Well, I like getting treats, so this is a good place to be. The third way is we lead him over into a sit or LAY and give him a treat and say Mexico. And every time you give him a treat, whether it's this or any other exercise, the treat should go in the mouth first. He should hear the command word immediately after the treat goes in his mouth. That activates his pleasure receptors, makes him more inclined to want to listen to that command. So the first stage, these are 3 ways to get him to go there. After a while, he'll go there on his own. When he does, toss him a treat or just say the word Mexico when he goes there if you don't have a treat. So just like us, if every time I go to a restaurant nearby, and let's say it's sushi, and I don't like sushi, but a friend of mine convinced me to meet there, and I find a $100 bill in the lobby. Well, even though I don't like sushi, I'm like, well, I'm feeling pretty good about this experience. And then somebody else tricks me to go there, and I find another $100 bill. And actually, every time I go there, I find a $100 bill in the lobby. After a while, I'm going to like sushi. So we're creating that positive association, and we're bribing the dog, and that's fine, because that's how dogs learn. And so we're just creating a positive association. Whenever we take away the furniture, I'd like to give them a dog bed at the same time. Now, we also have a kennel, and the guardian likes to use the kennel when she's cleaning up and things along those lines, but he only goes in there for a second. So we can use the same approach to the kennel, just throw the treat in the kennel, have a fun command word, a separate word that means to go to the kennel. And so you can keep on doing this until eventually he just starts hanging out in the kennel. Also leave a treat in the kennel. Something else you can do, I have a bully stick here. Something you can do is help him practice something good happening in the kennel. Normally bully sticks are a lot longer, he's little, so I'm this petite. But I could take a drill and drill a hole through this side of it, take a zip tie and zip it to the bottom of the kennel, really low, so he can chew on it while he's in the kennel, but he can't take it out of the kennel. You want one, buddy? Sit. Sit. There we go. And so now we create that positive association of going in the kennel, and after a while he'll start hanging out in the kennel, and that's what we're really looking for. There we go. Now we get a good visual of Miles. All right, so other rules, shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen when we're cooking food, shouldn't be allowed within the guardian when she's eating food. We want to make him sit before we go out the door. We go to the door and we say sit once. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, I want the guardian to walk away, sit down, do some crafting or read a magazine or do something. Wait 1 minute, then go back to the door and tell him to sit again. From now on, I will only give him a command word 1 time and try to create a scenario where if he complies, the reward is what he wants. So in this case, he wants to go outside. So you go to the door and tell him to sit. If he sits, then I open the door and we get to go outside. If you don't sit, I walk away and I'm losing interest. And the first time I'll walk away for 1 minute, next time I'll walk away for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, and I keep doubling the length of time until eventually when I go say sit, he sits down, then the door flies open. I also want the guardian to make sure she's eating something before she feeds him. Now, he doesn't like eating out of his bowl, so I would suggest getting different types of bowls. Just use the bowls that you have here. Put a plastic bowl down, see if he eat out of a plastic bowl. Put down a porcelain bowl or ceramic, see if he eat out of those. A lot of times it's the collar, the tag's hitting, but he doesn't have those. So he just might not like metal, might have a bad experience with metal. So if you find one that he likes to use, then great. Now, once you get to the point where he doesn't have a problem eating out of the bowl, then what I would do is start adding structure to mealtime. The guardian eats something first, then she puts food in his bowl, and then he gets invited over to eat it. When he takes his first bite of food, use passive training, come up with a funny word that means to eat, like sushi or pizza or taco. So every time for 2 months he takes the first bite of food, we say the word taco. When he hears taco now, there's food in his mouth. So taco must mean eat. And now when you come over and it's dinner time, you say taco and your dog runs over and eats, your friends laugh. That levity, like I said, will really help. Dogs can read facial expressions. So if we come up with funny command words, that's a great way to help the dog feel good and comfortable about what's going on. So, and reduces tension. So what I do is then, if he goes over and sniffs the bowl and walks away, pick up the bowl, dump the food back into the bag, and put the empty bowl back down. He does not eat again until the next meal. I feed my dogs 3 times a day. I recommend at least twice, if not 3 if you can. Guardian here doesn't have that lifestyle, but 2 is fine. So, but if he eats when you tell him to eat, or he does not eat again until the next meal. He might go a day or 2 without eating, that's fine. You're offering him the food, he's deciding not to do it because then he thinks, well, I have more authority, I should eat first. Well, then you can go hungry. It's ethical to do this because we're giving an opportunity to do it. He's choosing not to. The decision is his, not ours. If he goes longer than 3 days without eating, message me. But yeah, usually it means somebody in the house is cheating and giving the dog some food. So don't cheat because hunger becomes your ally. Now, if he does take a mouthful of food and walk away and put it on the ground and eats it up off the ground, as soon as he does that, pick up the remaining part of the bowl and dump it empty. So you're telling him that, hey, as soon as you walk in the bowl, the food goes away. And hunger eventually becomes an ally, and then he goes over and he just starts eating out of the bowl. Now, he also gets excited for the leash, and I'm going to get up and walk around and demonstrate how to do this. When we pick up the leash and the dog gets excited, that's an example of classical conditioning. Something happens, and then immediately after is something the dog really likes happening. So the dog starts getting more and more excited. Now, most of us confuse excited for happy when it comes to dogs, but excited is an unbalanced state of mind, and dogs are going to be more apt to make mistakes when they're excited. So when you come home, if he's excited, ignore him. And as soon as he gets calm, he comes over, and if you play a little hard to get, because right now, he used to be excited and come over, now he like hides under the bed and does some other things. So what the guardian does is come in and don't say, hey, his name, or just kind of hang out. And when he comes to you, reach for him. He starts wiggling, pull your arm back. And then keep on doing your business, and eventually you'll be able to reach all the way and touch him, and he stays calm. Calm and balance is what we're looking for. Dogs typically make more mistakes when they're out of balance. All right, so the leash is basically kept right here by the door. So let's say that I'm over here. It's time to go for a walk. I am not going to tell him, would you like to go for a walk? That gets them all worked up. Again, excited is not happy. So I'm just going to get up and walk over where the leash is, and he's going to recognize, oh, she's going to the leash, and he's going to run in front of you. Well, whoever's in front is the leader. So if I now grab the leash when he's here, he's like, yes, she's assisting me. So as I'm walking, as soon as the dog passes in front of me, I turn away and I go sit down. I don't say no. I'm saying no through my actions. As soon as you take the leadership role, I have no interest. And he goes, all right, where are we going? What are you doing over there? We're going for a walk. And he kind of sheepishly comes back over to you. Then you repeat the process. I had a guy in South Central, it took 45 minutes of walking back and forth away from the leash before the dog figured out I have to stay behind him in the follower position, literally in the dog's mind. When we got here, I said sit. I told him to tell the dog to sit. If the dog sits within 3 seconds, then we reach for the leash. If the dog does not sit within 3 seconds, I go sit back down and we restart the whole process again. Now, the little trick for this is usually we have very busy schedules. All right, I got 37 minutes. I can walk the dog. I can still do the laundry, and I can still make it to my date or work or whatever it is. Then the dog doesn't cooperate, and we get frustrated with the dog. So the trick for this is to practice doing this when you have no desire to go for a walk. And some people think it's mean. It's called desensitization. So you teach the dog that, you know what, every time we pick up the leash does not guarantee me going for a walk. Matter of fact, we will leash you up 5 times for every 1 time you go for a walk. Well, now, is this another drill? And he's kind of relaxed. And the energy the dog has in the place when you're leashing them up is the energy they'll have outside. So his first stage is just walking here and turning around, walking away when he gets in front. Next stage is he comes here, you tell him to sit. If he sits within 3 seconds, I reach for the handle. You probably only reach this far and you start wiggling, pull your arm back, tell him. And if you got out of a sit, tell him to sit again. If he sits within that 3 seconds, we reach again. If he doesn't, I go all the way and I sit back down. This is why it's helpful to do this when you're just a commercial break on TV or whatever it is, so you're not actually frustrated that the dog's not cooperating. At first, you only reach this far, then you reach this far, then this far. Then you'll be able to pick it up, and he gets excited, and you put it back down. And eventually, when you do pick it up and you stay sitting, I usually go like this. So you see that little response from him. So we want to make it as noisy as possible so he just gets used to, but I'm not going to go unless I'm calm. And eventually you pick it up and you attach his leash and he's calm. And then when you go through the door, you actually go through the door first. And when you go through the door, again, I talked about this off camera, breaking things. If he doesn't behave the way we want, we're going to break it down in individual steps and he'll practice it. So the first stage is being behind me as I come over here. Second stage is sitting calmly while I attach the leash. Third stage is this. So you see that he's looking at this sound, because this sound means the door's about to open. So when he's sitting here and I do this, if he gets up, I stop and tell him to sit. If he sits, then I continue doing this. If he doesn't, I walk all the way back there and we start the whole thing again. So eventually it gets to the point where you're doing this. It's like boring, he's yawning. Next stage is we jiggle this one. And if he gets up, we stop and tell him to sit and repeat the whole process. Eventually I open the crack. If he stays seated, then I open it all the way. Then I walk through the doorway first, and probably backlit right now. And so we've taught him what is expected for each individual step. And this is what I do really for a living, is I show people how they kind of cause dog problems to begin with. And what I do to help the dog fix it is I recreate the whole situation where the dog quote unquote failed, and I make it the easiest version possible. Not when there's a guest outside, not when there's people walking by, when I don't even plan on going for a walk. And we go through all this process until he knows each step along the way, this is what's expected. Once he knows all the individual steps, then I recreate the whole thing under the easiest situation possible. Then I gradually start raising the criteria until I work it back to the real world situation and he can handle it with aplomb. Okay, so let me see. We talked about rules, we talked about leashing, and for the leash, also another thing, because the guardian said sometimes he picks this up and he goes and hides under the bed. So when you pick this up, if he starts to hide, drop a treat on the floor here, and he'll turn around and come back to you. And then show him the leash, and then hold down another treat, and we want to entice him to want to come to us. Now, like a lot of dogs, he's a handsome dog, and so he probably is getting by on his looks. And a lot of us, we pet our dogs because we think that just giving them more and more affection will make them come around to us. Matter of fact, it usually backfires. So what I'd like the guardian to do is start playing a little hard to get and practicing what I call petting with a purpose. Petting with a purpose means that if the dog comes up and jumps up on me and nudges me and barks at me for attention, he's telling me what to do. That's a leadership mindset. Instead, I listen to what he says, I give him a counter order to tell him to sit. When he sits, I pet him under his chin to facilitate that nose up, and I say the word sit and only the word sit. And then at that point, I can pet him as much or as little as I want. Here, buddy. So you see how he's staying away and he turned his head to the side. That's his way of saying, I don't want you to pet me. And I respected him and I listened to him. Because of that, he didn't have to bare his teeth. He didn't nip at me or any of the rest of those things. So we'll talk about the filming it here in a sec. But for the, what was I just talking about before that?
Oh, me?
Yes, sorry. He's not going to answer. What was I just talking about?
Petting with purpose.
So yes, thank you. So basically, if he tells me what to do, nothing happens other than I give him a counter order. And when he sits, I pet him on his chin and say the word sit and only the word sit, not good sit. And I pet him as much or as little as I want, just at least one pet. And then after a while, what will happen is he'll come start sitting in front of us to prepay for attention. If he's already sitting, ask him to come and sit here or ask him to lie down. He has to do something to change his state or to prepay for the attention. And even if you want to pet him, still make him do something to earn it. If you get in the habit of petting with a purpose, every time you pet your dog, it does three things. First of all, it increases the dog's respect for me as an authority figure because I'm not giving attention for no reason. I'm paying him for a purpose. Petting is a form of paying them. So that helps him respect me as an authority figure. Also, instead of being given the attention, he's earning the affection. So that boosts his self-esteem, just like if I do a good job and I get a bonus from my boss, I feel better about myself. So he gets a self-esteem boost, and dogs that are reactive are typically insecure. The more confidence we can give them, the more they're able to brush things off and not worry about it. Third thing it does is helps them practice sitting, which is something we want to do as much as we possibly can. Now, for the walks, one of the things I do on the walk is when I start the walk, again, I make sure the dog's calm. And when I start going on the walk, I have about 10 treats in my hand. And I take no more than 5 steps for every treat. So sometimes I take 2 steps. Stop, tell him to sit. When he sits, give him the treat and say sit. Then I take maybe 4 steps. Stop, sit, give him a treat. By the time you get to your 10th one, you stop and he just sits down automatically. So now he's paying attention to me as opposed to paying attention to everything else on the walk. This is a wonderful way to create a healthy leader-follower dynamic on the walk and help him respect you because you're using that positive reinforcement. Now, he is a little bit reactive, bigger dogs especially, but sometimes any other dogs on walks. So what we want to do is dogs get over things by literally moving forward. So what we'd like to do is find dogs in the neighborhood that we see a lot, and just if you see the guardian independent of the dog, just say, hey, would you mind if we walked with you? I got the Chihuahua that's really barky. I hired a dog psychologist. He showed me some tips for this. One of the things he said we could do is walk together. When we're doing this, we want to make sure that we're walking in a line. So the human, and dogs on the outside. Now, if getting this close, the dog, he's reacting, keep on increasing the distance. You might have to walk in the street, careful, and we call it parallel walking. And eventually you kind of do it like this. You kind of get to like an angle. But you might have to go several blocks with him, and the whole point is he's not reacting in the walk. If he's barking and lunging, you need more distance. You might have to actually walk on the other side of the street. Now, I showed the Guardian focus exercise, and there's videos on my website to figure out how to do it. Remember, the first stage, within 7 days, get to the 15-second focus in the house. Then do it outside, go back to 1 second, 1 second, and then you want to get to 15 seconds within about 2 or 3 days outside, sitting. And then the third stage is as you're walking, there's no one around, and you say focus, he looks up at you, raise it, boom, boom. 1 second at first, second time, 1 second, 2 seconds, then eventually 3 seconds, and work your way up to that 15-second mark. Now the idea then is, and this is what I mentioned earlier, is I'd like to have the Guardian's partner come by, and at about the 5 o'clock or the 7 o'clock range, have them about 7 to 10 paces behind you, filming in this direction. So they get to see you, keep the camera sideways, the dog, and then what's in front of you. The idea is to learn to recognize what his warning signs are. Dogs usually don't react out of nowhere. They usually show you a lot of warning signs, and I'll include some of them. A lot of the very first one is often lowering the head and staring. And so if you see your dog doing that, that's the best time to get focused, and he looks up at you, and you can either increase the distance or do the focus eventually as you walk by the people, and he's looking at you and not looking at the other dog. So but also it's going to depend on the other dog. If the other dog is barking and bouncing all over the place, he's going to be more reactive at a greater distance. If the dog's calm, you probably can get a lot closer before he reacts, and you need to give him the focus. So the first sign is usually a lowered head stare. And you can also stare by looking away, intentionally looking away. That's a big one. The ears coming forward or going all the way back. Baring his teeth, he does a lot of that. You won't be able to see that from the side, but you'll have to look for it. Excuse me. Dilated pupils, which will be hard to see from there, but you can recognize that once you know what to look for. Breathing heavy or holding his breath, getting stiff, hunching over or crouching down. Those are all indications. Tail going straight up, like stiff and quivering. It could be licking his lips. He could be yawning. He could be breathing very heavily. There's a lot of these little things. So if we were filming it a couple of times, a couple of encounters, and we see 10 dogs on the walk, we kind of see different mannerisms that he shows. Now we know what to look for. So now we're walking down the block and we see another dog approaching. I look down at him instantly. What's he doing? He's just walking normally. Okay, cool. I keep on checking in with him. And I might have to ask him to sit a couple times. Again, that's a more subordinate role. And we get to the point where you see him starting to stare, then you give the focus, he looks up at you and try it. You can either walk past or walk to the side, down the sidewalk, or around a car. Now remember, if he's reacting, the only thing we can do is increase the distance and sometimes block his line of sight. So you may have to walk into the street around a car or a tree or something like that to stop him. And then once he stops, do the focus exercise, give the other dog the ability to go by. Now also, I didn't go over this during the session, but I'm going to show you real quick, is sometimes we like to do what we call a U-turn. Teach the dog that sometimes I just turn around for no apparent reason. If you see another dog and you always turn around, well then he's like, oh, there must be a dog around. So I'm going to show you with my feet here because it's easier to watch. So, and I don't want you to react, so let's give you a couple treats over there. There we go. So as I'm doing this, what I'm going to do, whoops, sorry buddy, as I'm walking like this. When I want to turn, I'm going to have, let's say the dog's on my outside. I'm going to have a treat, and I'm going to show him that I have the treat, and he's going to come here. When he does that, I'm going to put this foot, so I'm making like a T. And so now the dog comes around here, and now it's perpendicular to the direction we were walking. Then I come like this, and I keep on keeping it lower, and then I go like this, and now I turn and I'm going this way, and then I pop the treat in his mouth, and I would say the word turn. Sit. And so this way, and then I would take about 4 or 8 steps that way and then do it or repeat it. So once a block, practice a turn for no reason. So he's like, okay, blue weird shirt guy came and then suddenly now my Guardian does donuts for no reason on walks. Well, the more you practice that, and then if you do see a dog that comes out of nowhere or you know he's going to react to, you can turn around automatically and turn and start walking the other direction and increase the distance. That's your plan B or your backup. You don't want to use that too much. We'd rather use the focus exercise. But and exercising it before the walk can also help. That's something I forgot to talk about. So because we live in kind of an apartment and we have kind of outdoor stairs, that's a great way to teach to burn some energy. He's not a super duper high energy dog, but he has he's a Chihuahua. They're terriers. They have a lot of energy. So what I would do is have the partner at the bottom of the stairs, put him on a retractable leash, and have the partner call him down the stairs. When the partner comes down, he comes down the stairs, give him a treat and say Mexico or whatever the word is. We are using Mexico for this, but something else. and then call him back up. You have him on a retractable leash. When he comes back up, say Canada, or another word that means going up. And then do it with an empty stomach the first time, and keep going up and down until he's like, you're crazy, I'm not going down there anymore. I've been down there 28 times. Now we know what his maximum number is. So we don't want to exercise a maximum number. If it's 28 times, we might exercise him 22, 24 times, maybe 20. So play around with those elements, and exercising like that, then bring him back inside, letting him relax for about 10 minutes to catch his breath, and then going for a walk, you'll have a much better walk because we burn that top level of energy. If we have guests coming over, doing that on the stairs is a nice way to exercise them. Now, I don't want to say forego the walks. Walks are a wonderful way for him to be stimulated. We have a couple parks that are really close by, and that's very beneficial for him. Now, one other thing, if there are a lot of dogs in the park, what you can do is just provide him a mild distraction. A lot of times I use shredded cheese for this. I used to use a white or a yellow if the grass is pretty green. And then basically what I do is I have a bunch of it, and as soon as he starts staring at another dog, like a foot in front of him, I sprinkled the grass, the cheese in the grass. Now he's working to get that grass out, or the cheese out of the grass. Instead of focusing on the other dog, he's sniffing the ground, or a simulation of sniffing the ground. This is a version of what we call behavior adjustment training, where we're teaching him to a replacement behavior. Instead of lunging and barking at other dogs, I sniff the ground and get cheese while other dogs are nearby, and I'm practicing essentially not being aggressive towards the other dogs. So it takes a little bit of practice, but after a while he gets more and more comfortable about that, and the more experience he has without being reactive, the more that behavior pattern starts to establish itself, and then he stops being so reactive to other people. But a lot of this is based on flipping the leadership-follower dynamic by enforcing rules, by petting with a purpose and adding structure, and rewarding desired actions through passive training. So every time he comes to you, pet him and say come. Every time he sits, pet him and say sit. Lays down, pet him and say crash, or whatever your word for down. Brings you a toy. Name all those individual toys. All balls can be balls, all Kongs can be Kongs, but maybe you call the red thing candy cane. And come up with funny words for all these things. Now, last thing I'd like you to do is teach him some new tricks and commands. He seems to be pretty intelligent. So if I pass the bar exam, I'd be impressed because I'm not in law school. But if I pass my medical boards, or I get a new job or a promotion, I feel good about myself. Especially if you graduate college, you worked your tail off. You got to make a lot of sacrifices, or you can figure out how to pass tests, but you achieve something. And when we achieve something, we have a boost of self-esteem. So if we can help him start achieving things and make him feel better about himself, I talked about this a little bit with petting with a purpose, but if we teach him new tricks or commands, then we have different ways to redirect him, and we boost his self-esteem and confidence. So one of the things I'd like you to do is go to YouTube. All these dog trainers want a TV show. So let's show you how to do all their tricks for free. So go to YouTube and find easy dog tricks. Maybe just teach them to do I call it hurricane. Just do a quick circle. It's a great one if your dog gets humped a lot at the park. You tell your dog to circle 2 or 3 times, the other dog looks for somebody else to hump. Bang your dead, flops over. Roll over. I wouldn't practice shake, because if you like this, you must really like this. If the dog jumps up on you, it's a way of claiming you. But if you come up with a new trick or command once a week or on approximately, and let's say bang your dead, well, every time I'm going to feed you, bang your dead first. You want to go outside the door, bang your dead. You want to be on the bed, bang your dead. After the end of the week, you just look at me, flopping on the ground. And then the next week, you teach him a different one. And since we have a partner here, I would try to get your partner to teach him some as well, because if you have a mentor, you have a lot of a respect and affinity for your mentor, because they help you through a difficult part of your life journey, and they counsel you and shepherd you through the process. So you have a lot of respect, and they're associated with you boosting your own self-esteem. So if you can teach him, try to teach him by the end of the summer 8 new tricks or commands. And when dogs reach a plateau of at least 10 commands, they seem to reach a certain level of confidence that allows them to brush off some of the more casual things that used to bother them. So I think that's pretty much it. Have I covered everything? All right. Well, this is Miles. Miles, you got to look at the camera, though, because they want to see how handsome you are. I'll facilitate it with a trick. With a treat. That's Miles. Oh, there we go. That's Miles, and I'm David, and this is Miles' Roadmap to Success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you need it.